Well, it's now 7 o'clock. The Board of Selectmen, I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, May 6th meeting, 2020, Selectmen's Meeting Room, second floor. It's 7 p.m. Due to the increased concerns surrounding the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting will remain closed to the public. There are no scheduled public hearings. There will be no public comments, period. Live video and audio of the meeting will be aired on Comcast Local Channel 9. A recording of this meeting will also be posted on the West Bridgewater YouTube channel. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Okay. I'd like to acknowledge the passing of Robert, on request a moment of silence. Robert Brady, Avon Selectman. He is the brother of Michael Brady, who's a senator, and I will send her maybe an appropriate card on. And so I just request a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, as we move through the agenda, no public hearings, appointment warrant, board and selectmen business, professional municipal clerks week proclamation.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
No, I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, I placed this on the agenda just because this week here nationwide is Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And I think that we have a very, very good, we're very fortunate to have an excellent town clerk for the town of West Bridgewater. And not only does she do a really good job, quite frankly, she's under additional duress, as most people are because of the virus. She has multiple elections coming up in a town meeting over the next month and a half, and to determine ways to keep everybody safe, but still hold the elections and make sure everybody has the information. You know, she's got quite a job on her hands, and I thought that it was right to ask the Board of Selectmen to read off the proclamation on her behalf.
I agree with everything you said and more. She's a real keeper here. She does a real great job for us, and we really appreciate her. I'm going to read this proclamation of the Board of Selectmen, West Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Whereas the office of Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the office of Professional Municipal Clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local government bodies, and the agency of government at other levels. And whereas Professional Municipal Clerks have pledged to be ever mindful for their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the Professional Municipal Clerk serves as the informational center on the function of local government and community. And whereas the Professional Municipal Clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of Office of Professional Municipal Clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meeting of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk, therefore be it resolved, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of West Bridgewater, do hereby proclaim the week of May 3rd, 2020 to May 9th, 2020 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And further, we extend our appreciation to our Professional Municipal Clerk and Iantelli and all the Professional Municipal Clerks for their vital service they perform and that exemplary dedication to the community they represent. In witness whereof we hereto under set the hands and cause a great seal of the town of West Bridgewater to be affixed the 6th day of May 2020. Eldon F. Moreira, Chairman. Denise Ray, Vice Chairman, and Anthony Kenahan, a clerk. Yeah, she does a real good job for us, and I wish her good luck and good health.
Thank you, Alvin.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to say that I want to express that we should also send appreciation to Sharon Ladine, my assistant, because I wouldn't be able to run this office without her as well.
Oh, yes, she does a great job for you, and I know that I use the office quite a bit, and we use it in a very, very professional manner. Yeah, I agree with you.
Thank you, Annie and Sharon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your kind words.
Okay. Approve meeting minutes of April 1st, 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If there's none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Right. All right. Unanimous.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, if you could just do it as a roll call vote, please.
All right, Marrero, yes.
Raise yes.
Kinahan, yes.
Okay, so approved. Accept for review the meeting minutes of April 15th, 2020.
So moved.
Is there
Second.
a second? All's in favor?
Raise
Roll
yes.
call.
Kinahan, yes.
Marrero, yes. Vote I move the due date for exemption and deferral applications to June 1st.
So the board actually approved this at your last meeting. However, we did not list it on the agenda. We only listed the topic from the recommendation from the treasurer because the Board of Assessors literally voted on it 15 minutes before your meeting. So we didn't know if they would approve it or not, although we expected that they would. So even though you took that vote, it allowed us to be able to send the message out to our residents so that we would give them as much ample notice as possible. But just because I didn't want there to be a potential for an open meeting law violation, I just placed it on this agenda as well. And I'm asking you to retake that same vote.
Okay, is there a vote for that, for the deferral? Is there a motion?
Yeah, motion to move the date to June 1st, 2020.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Marrero, yes.
Raise yes.
Kinahan, yes.
Okay, so approved. Vote on FY21 appointments.
Eldon, we typically take this under advisement and give ourselves 2 weeks to look it over.
Yep.
I'd like to do that. So I'd make a motion that we take it under advisement and put it on the agenda 2 weeks from now to make the appointments.
That's fine, that sounds great. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Marrero, yes.
Raise yes.
Kinahan, yes.
Okay, so approved. Approve the confined space policy.
So this past year, Maya, who is our workers' comp insurance agency, provided us a grant opportunity. And our building inspector, Michael White, applied for it. Basically, it is machinery that allows us to be able to detect gas or gas leaking in confined spaces. So that way, if our fire department goes in or our building inspector or gas inspector goes into a place, they can identify whether or not there is a gas leak prior to entering. In order to fulfill that grant, Maya is requiring that we approve a confined space policy. Basically, it defines what a policy, it defines what a confined space is, that it has to be identified, and what the protocols are for people entering one. I've asked my assistant, Linda, to work on this issue, and she did. She did with Michael White. She did with the fire chief, Kenny May, and the deputy, Lincoln Tebow, and also with John Cruz, the gas inspector. They all looked at it, reviewed it, put it together. This is their work. I gave it a quick review, but I obviously don't know it as well as they do. But if all of them believe that this is the right policy to have to make sure they're all safe on behalf of the town, then I'm presenting it to the Board of Selectmen for your approval.
Okay, I think a lot of, of them, and thank them for doing this. And I think it's a great thing to have a policy like this. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Anything you want to? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Raise yes.
Kinahan, yes.
And Marrera, yes. Communication reports from the board, commissioners, and town officials. Okay, any comments you want to make or anything of? If there's none, I'll move on. Correspondence of the public, because now where I read there would be no public comments at this time. Okay, we can still be reached by phone. Our girls are very, very busy here. Public comment. Okay, is there anything that the board would like to say at this time? If there's no comments, I will move on to the town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first on the agenda is DLTA funding approval. This is actually from OCPC, our local regional planning council. And DLTA stands for District Local Technical Assistance, and it is an award of a grant for them to write us a local housing production plan, which I thought would make the board pretty happy. So as you know, Selectmen Raise has requested 2 years in a row that we receive funding at the state level to write a grant. Unfortunately, we have not been approved either time. We know that we have all been frustrated with 40Bs and how those rules apply, especially to a small town with West Bridgewater, where quite frankly, it's a little bit disproportionate because we have a lot of available space and land, and it provides developers an opportunity to be able to exploit that fact. This, however, is not exactly what we had originally hoped. Our hope was to write a housing plan that would take a look at 40Bs, both the positives and the negatives, and then use them as an advocacy tool so we could attempt to change the 40B law. This request that's been approved is that they're going to do a full housing plan, which is that they will look at our stock. They will advise us as to what type of housing we have and what we need, and give us recommendations on how we might be able to mitigate certain portions of 40B, but also with an attempt to get to 40B. The state is not going to provide money through OCPC on how to thwart 40B or how to change their own law. However, it will give us an opportunity to be able to have an in-depth analysis of how to create a housing production plan that may prove beneficial. Quite frankly, if it doesn't, they're the ones who did the work. I requested OCPC to do it. They've agreed to do it. There's no cost to us. So I'm not exactly sure what the end product will be. Quite frankly, you could see the approval came in February. And when I attempted to meet with them, at that point, they'd already closed their office, and we've been in communication through email, and they haven't started doing the work yet. So we'll see as to what the end product is, but I want to give the board a heads up as an FYI that we have been approved for something. We'll see what the end product is, and hopefully it'll be helpful.
Okay, I'll follow that up. I'm on the Old Colony Plan Council and see where we are with that, and see if we, can move that along.
Next is that just as an FYI.
Is there any vote to that? Or?
Nope, I applied for it. I received the grant.
Okay.
So it's really just informing the board that we'll be working on it going forward.
All right.
Special legislation for special police officers was approved by the state 2 weeks ago. You'll recall that about 2 years ago, the police chief asked that we allow our special police officers who have retired to remain as special police officers up until the age of 70. Currently, police officers can only serve until 65. We went to our town meeting, received approval from town meeting to apply for special legislation, and that has finally run its course through the legislative process, and the governor signed it about 2 weeks ago. So I'm just informing the board that that is now legal and binding in the town of West Bridgewater.
How does the chief feel about it? Is he in agreement of this?
Yeah, he's the one that proposed it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
Okay, a motion to approve this?
No, it's already been approved, Eldon. The town meeting approved it, and I'm just letting you know that it's now been ratified at the state legislative level. So it's good. It's all set. It's in a force.
All right, it's all taken care of.
Yes. Next is just to inform you that as part of our 40B policy that we signed a couple of years ago, that we have a 40B complex that has been permitted up off of Belmont Street. It's 54 apartments. And we are, as the state has done its review, we were now in the process to request that the town be given local preference options. So I penned a letter a couple of weeks ago, forwarded off to Mass Housing. Again, just informing the board that we are on top of it and that we're going to do our best to make sure that the town of West Bridgewater has local preference for the affordable units.
Yeah, we have to keep an eye on too, because the town does own property for housing next to it there, and I'd like to hear more about that, of how is this going to suffer into with this project. It's certainly going to have to come out on a street. It's very narrow on a curve, and I think we have to keep an eye on that as it meets the highway there.
I agree.
David, do we know what the rents will be for those apartments?
They haven't done, they did the preliminary analysis. I don't have it in front of me. I can get it to you, but as now, before they, when they get their final occupancy permit, they will have to do another round of analysis as to what the rents are in the local area. And then they are awarded 80% of the traditional market rate for whatever bedroom that they've looked at. So whether it's a 1 or a 2 or a 3. So they'll get 80%, and the state will review the information to make sure it's accurate, but we'll get that information. I could certainly pass it along at that time.
Okay, anything else you'd like to have talk with David about? Okay.
All right, next on the agenda is again to provide the information to the board that about $500 billion was awarded nationwide from the federal government under the CARES Act. This went to all municipalities and or governmental agencies that had a population of 500,000 or more. In the state of Massachusetts, there's only one municipal entity, that's the city of Boston. The counties also applied for the money, and Plymouth County was awarded $90 million. So hopefully, as a Plymouth County municipality, we will eventually reap some of that benefit. The money does have to be spent specific to COVID-19. It's not something we can do just to hire people, for example. And as the rules and regulations are adopted, Plymouth County, I'm sure, is going to provide us with that information and how we'll be able to get reimbursed or put in up front to be proactive for whatever funding might be available. So we don't know those rules and regulations yet. But again, I want just to inform the board that Plymouth County they did apply for it, they received it, and hopefully West Bridgewater will reap the benefit from it at a later date.
Okay, any comments on this, or we'll wait to hear from Plymouth County? If there's no comments, we'll move to B.
Okay. And again, finally, just a last update on where we stand with coronavirus. Since we last met, I have sent out 5 more memos to everybody in town, whether it's residents or employees. We're doing our best to try to make sure that we are updating all of our residents as to how many cases there are. As of this very moment, we are at 42 cases that have been tested positive, and I believe it is 18 that are still under quarantine. Governor Baker, as a result of where we stand statewide, has extended the original moratorium for non-essential business from 5/14 to May 18th. The town hall remains closed until that time. I have asked my building department, the building commissioner, along with the DPW director, to start looking at what we can do to protect our offices going forward. Sooner or later, we're going to have to reopen to the public. It may not still be on May 18th because there'll be new protocols released by the state. But for example, right now, our treasurer's office has plexiglass. So when somebody goes to the treasurer's office, there is a barrier there. I am envisioning doing the exact same thing at the town clerks and the assessing department, where they have large windows. The Board of Health has a half swing door. So I'm envisioning that what we'll do is we'll plexiglass the top. And I'm thinking that we'll be able to do the same thing for all the offices on the second floor, including the Board of Selectmen's office. So it's going to cost us some money. All of that will be reimbursable at 75% through the federal government. I have about 6 different vendors at this point that do this type of business. And so I've asked them to reach out, get quotes, and begin the process of putting those in place. So when we do reopen to the public, residents can come in and feel safe, and the employees that work here can feel safe as well.
I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments on that? Okay, I guess we can move to the,
Yep, and the last item under that is just to make you aware that under the PPP program, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, that was for small businesses under 500,000 people, that they were going to be required to retain their employees and to get reimbursement through a loan program through the SBA, or Small Business Administration. We received the information in. Lorna posted it on our website along with on Facebook, so all our local businesses have access to it. So I just want to let the board know that we're doing what we can as we receive information, because our small businesses are obviously hurting. Is that we're putting the information out there to the best of our ability to make sure that they can access the capital that they need.
oh, okay. Any other questions or anything would like to bring up at this time before we adjourn our meeting?
No, thank you, David, for that.
You're welcome. Thank
Okay,
you.
is there a motion to adjourn our meeting, and we will not be reconvening? We do have to go into executive session, which I will read. Is the motion to adjourn?
Actually, no, Mr. Chairman, what you want to do is you want to read the motion, which means that you're going to then go into executive session. We don't adjourn the open session. We go into, use the motion to go into executive session, please.
Okay, I'll read the executive session motion, May 6, 2020. We'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session, not to return to open session for the purpose of conducting strategy sessions of preparation for contract negotiation for non-union personnel, specifically all non-union contracts, employers overseen by the Board of Selectmen, and discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, specifically all union overseen by the Board of Selectmen. It's my opinion as the chair, negotiating in open session would have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town. I will call for a roll call vote. Marrero, yes?
Raise yes.
Kinahan, yes.
We are now on in an executive session. Thank you, and good night. Okay.